Hey there, guys, and welcome to another episode of the MH Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Miles Harrison, and today we're going to give you guys a nice little blueprint about how we can get you to start running within your strength program. So, if you're very much someone who wants to get involved in some running, there's a lot of people now starting to do it these days. Now, the increase of things of like the hybrid athlete, Hyroxes, CrossFits, a lot of people these days are very much mixing conditioning, cardio, running, whatever you want to call it, with strength training. So, what we're going to be going through today is how we can then combine the two to make sure you are successful in both. But we're also going to give you some things to think about to make sure that you're not crap at both. So, let's get to it. So, one of the main reasons why I say to all my clients or anyone that I work with, regardless of whatever your goal is, we need some development in cardio. We need to add some cardio into your routine. And the biggest reason of that is work capacity, your ability to work, or should I say recover, in between sets. If you don't have that, one, you're not going to be able to touch peaks as much as you want to, and you're just not going to be able to recover from your workouts. And if you're not able to recover from your workouts, that means that we're going to have a great amount of time of recovery, and therefore we're not going to get as much stimulus as we would like to. Another reason is just general health. If we can make if you make your heart more efficient at doing the work that we're doing, better. We have to put the heart through less stress, and therefore we're not going to get obviously as tired as we are, or we're not going to have obviously them heart related issues. So from a general health side, they're the biggest reasons why most people, if not everyone, should be doing some form of cardio alongside their strength training. Now, quite a while ago, a lot of people, I probably say some people still say now, that you can't do both. There used to be a thing called the interference effect, where we know through pathways that strength training would stimulate the body very differently from the way that running would. Now, that doesn't really, it's still, the interference effect still somewhat exists, but there's a lot more to it than what it means. So, the way I'm going to explain this is, think about it like this. If you're someone who's very much brand new to training, everything you're doing, everything you're going to be doing is going to take a while to recover. Whether that's cardio, whether you just started running, or you just start yourself on weight training. As you start getting more advanced, that becomes more and more apparent, because in order to, for example, let's say for someone like me who's been training for 15 years, for me to now improve on things like my Olympic lifting, my bench press, my squats, I need to put a hell of a lot more volume in there, because I'm already at quite a high peak with it. Could have been doing it for so long. Vice versa. If I was doing a lot of running and I wanted to improve my sprint times or my 5K times or my 10 times, I would need to dedicate a great deal of volume of that. Now, can I do both? Yes. But like everything, the more we kind of spread things out, whether that's through weeks, months, the things can get a little bit messy. So my always tip is you can do both. You definitely can do both, but there's still an element of periodization that you need to account for. You can't just do a running program here and a strength program here and expect both of them to do well. You need to make sure within your weeks, within your months and your mesocycles, that you are prioritizing one a little bit more than the other. That's my personal opinion. It's like anything really. You can do a lot of things at the same time. In-season training for team sports have massively made this more apparent. But like everything, the more you try to include stuff in your program, the more you try to spread yourself or spin many plates, the likelihood of you not having your eyes on one of them, and the plate's about to fall off, is higher. So they're the things you need to really consider. So let's say, for example, you are someone who's got a good development in strength training. You've been doing it for a couple of years, and you now want to start running because everyone else is doing it, or you want to start doing a half marathon. where would I get you to start? I always think it's a lot easier for a person who's got a good hypertrophy, good strength basis to get themselves into running. If you're someone who is very, very good at running, very, very efficient at doing it, you will find it harder to get into strength training. Just because you don't have the strength to do it, because you don't particularly need to be strong to do running. Let's be real right now. You don't need to be particularly strong to do running. But if you are stronger from the base of obviously having the gym, that means going into it, you will be able to meet those demands a lot better. You'll be able to recover from those a lot better. Where if you're used to doing higher volume from a lot of endurance work, the moment we start going to strength training, you're probably going to be hit with that fatigue. But let's go back to the example I was just talking about before. Let's say you're a strength person, you get yourself into running. Where would I start? I think a lot of people try to jump the gun too quickly and try to go straight into the high intensive things. If it's hard, it must be working. It's definitely not the case, guys. But if you're trying to apply that type of training on top of your strength work, you will find very quickly it's very hard to recover from and you will break down. Where you should do the opposite of what you're good at, which is probably going to be long, steady state aerobic work. Being really efficient at getting oxygen into the system. So this could be your zone 1, zone 2 training type of stuff and all that. Literally running where you can pretty much hold a conversation. That's how easy it needs to be. And you need to be good at staying in that point. Because like I said, if you've got a bigger base, you'll have a higher peak. Now, does that mean that you can't do high intensity interval type of stuff if you do strength training? No, I definitely think there's a time and a place for it. But like I've just mentioned before, you need to make sure you are building that base. Too much high intensity stuff, even if you have got a good aerobic base, will be quite hard to recover from. You need to prioritize one of the two. You can still have both in your training. It's like me being a team sport athlete. As I'm in season and with football is the priority. I now supplement it with strength training. And then when the off season comes on, I then strength train. And that's my main goal. I strength train and I do the other stuff in a while. Because I haven't got trainings a couple of times a week. I haven't got games on a couple of weeks. These are the things that you need to consider. So if I was programming your week and you want to include still, let's say 2 to 3 times of strength training, but you want to add in a few running sessions, here's how I kind of look at it. I would obviously go with alternate days. So you'd be strength training one day, running the next day, strength training day, running the next day, and then include some kind of rest days into that week. That way, then you've got some high days, which are going to be very much like heavy strength training, plyometrics, power type of work, and then you've got your low days. So these are going to be your aerobic work. These are going to be like your mobility stuff and all that, things that don't really cost that much energy. And I think if you alternate between those two, one, you can recover from the high days and your low days, and you can recover from your low days on your high days. Easy explained. There we go. Another thing is, sometimes you don't have the luxury of doing that. Some days you're going to have double days. So let's say, for example, like myself, I mostly do some kind of strength training within the morning, and then I do some kind of football training or some kind of aerobic work in the evening. If I do those double days, I generally try to keep 6 hours between those type of sessions. Reasons why? There's quite a bit of research that kind of backs into the fact of when our body goes through resistance type of training, that's generally how long we can recover between those kind of rounds before we're not feeling that kind of a negative effect. And then if I'm generally looking at it from a progression from week to week to week, I'm going to probably try to increase general total volume, not just the running side, but also strength training as well, no more than 10%. Now, 10% has been backed by a lot of research, so we don't really want to go higher than that over a short period of time. Why? Because if we can spike too much volume, too much intensity, the likelihood of injury is just going to go up. So we gradually want to build it up. Slow and steady in this case does really win the race. So making sure that we are building a base, seeing how we adapt to it along with our strength training, and then pushing it if we need to be there. And one thing I definitely want you to mention of, is too much of this middle ground work. Now, the middle ground is your zone 3. So, depending on what model you go for, there are 5 zones. Zone 1 and 2 are generally like your low, steady state aerobic work. And as you go a little bit higher up the zones, you start going towards things like lactate threshold, VO2 max, anaerobic, max heart rate, all the high intensity type of stuff, which I'm not probably going to go into that much today. You either want to touch based on the higher rounds, or the higher zones, should we say, and the lower zones. And the reason why that is because this kind of middle ground can cause a lot of mixed stimulus where, again, you're not really doing high enough intensity work to work on the top peaking type of work, but it's also not low enough intensity to work on the aerobic work. Now, also as well, here's some other considerations you want to do if you're trying to improve or include running into your strength training. Eating, fueling. You need to fuel properly, guys. You need to. Like, the amount of times that people go on a couple of runs on their first week of getting into running, and one, they're absolutely shocked how much their body needs to recover from, and then they undereat. Like, if you're adding, sooner or later, a couple of 5Ks, 10Ks, so on, you need the amount of calories. You need carbohydrates. You need sodium to make sure that you are hydrating, but you're also as well recovering from the bouts of work that you're doing. So I can't give a number on how many calories or carbohydrates you need to start adding them on, but the way that I would get you to think about it is have some kind of readiness score. I use this a lot with my clients where when you are doing your strength training or you're running, have a little bit of a mental work. Am I sleeping very well? Is my eating been really good? As stress levels started rising up, am I starting to get really sore? You start keeping a check on these things and you start taking a note of how much volume you're doing within the week and what your calories and carbohydrates and protein and all that other stuff are you taking within the week, then you can see if there's any massive spikes in things like stress levels, sleep not being greatest, and you're feeling really sore. The likelihood is you're either overshooting how much volume you're doing and how much you can recover from, or you're under fueling from the work that you are doing. Also as well, if you are including running into your strength training things, take massive notice of the impact tax. And what I mean by the impact tax is technically of running is some form of plyometric. You are taking probably, there's a range of 5 to 10 times your body weight on a single step. Think about it. If you're doing that a numbers of times, that is quite a lot of load going onto the body. So when it comes to training volumes and intensities within the gym, you need to consider these things. It's probably not a good idea if you're including running into your strength program to then go and do a 3 rep max the next following day or a 1 rep max. Dial down the intensity, see what you're dealing with, and then start ramping that up again. Again, slow and steady wins the race with this running, guys. You need to make sure that you're not just going straight into it and then getting an injury or just wondering why you're hurt all the time. So there you have it, guys. There are some things to consider when you're trying to include running into a strength training program. There's a lot of things that probably people don't realize, but I think if you take those things on board of what I've just said and then slowly start applying them into your week, before you know it, you'll be doing 5Ks, marathons. But as always, guys, if you've got any questions on anything I say, you want to have a little bit of discussion, by all means, drop me a message on any of my social medias or on my platforms, and I'll be very happy to help there, guys. But thank you very much today, guys, for listening to this episode of the MH Performance Podcast. I'll see you all in the next one.